French and Indian War. A major war fought near the western borders of the Middle and New England colonies. The French and Indian War officially lasted 7 years from 1756 to 1760. Contrary to the war's name, it wasn't actually the French versus Native Americans. France and Great Britain declared war on each other. Both the French and the British had Native American allies. French, the Algonquin, Lenape, the Obiwa, Ottawa, and Shawnee. British, the Catawba, Cherokee, and Inquisition. Why were they fighting? The French and British were disputing over territory in the Ohio River Valley, location of the Ohio River Valley. The French were a fort called Fort Duquesne on the Ohio River, located on the modern day city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The British felt the location of the fort was on their territory, not French. Location of Fort Duquesne, which is now Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. British General Edward Baddock led 1,500 troops to take Fort Duquesne. While en route, they were ambushed by French and Native American forces. The British were defeated badly, and General Babcock was wounded during the battle. His wounds would prove to be fatal as he died a few days later. Fighting wages on. Over the course of the next several years, numerous battles would ensue. Battle of Fort Oswego in 1756. Fort Oswego was a British fort, was captured by the French. They took 1,700 British soldiers prisoner. Fighting wages on. Massacre at Fort William Henry in 1756. After the French took the fort, around 150 of the captured British soldiers were massacred by Native American allies of the French. This was a violation of the surrender terms as agreed to by the British and French, greatly and the colonists. Fighting wages on. Battle of Quebec in 1759, a pivotal point of the war. The outcome of this battle turned the monument of the war in the favor of the British. The British would retain this monument through the war's end, but not before other battles had occurred and the fall of Montreal. Fall of Montreal in 1760, an important stronghold for the French. The city of Montreal fell on the British. The fall of the city essentially marked the end of the war. By the end of 1760, much of the fighting near the borders of the American colonies had ended. Despite the war's largest battles now behind it, a peace treaty between France and Britain wouldn't come for another several years. The war comes to an end. Finally, on February 10th, 1763, the Treaty of Paris was signed by the British at the French ending the war. Effects of the war. The French agreed to surrender their territory, New France, in North America to Britain and Spain. While they didn't fight in the French and Indian War, Spain was also at war with France in other parts of the world. The British took possession of all French territory east of the Mississippi River, while the Spanish took possession of everything west, including the city of New Orleans. These massive changes in the territory ownership are illustrated in the following slide. This slide is showing you areas that the territory was taken by the French and the Spanish. The red color is the British. The pink looking color is the British gains. And then the orange color is the Spanish before. The yellow is the Spanish gains. The pink is the loss by Spain and the gain by Britain in 1763. And then the trim is the Indian reserves, and then the unexplored is the gray, which is above the Louisiana area. In addition, the war was very expensive, and in order to help pay the war debt, the British government decided to tax the colonists. This move angered many colonists. The colonists were upset because they felt they were being taxed unfairly since they had no representation in the British government. Taxation without representation. The British, on the other hand, felt that the taxes were fair because they just fought the French and numerous of Native American tribes in order to help protect the interests and territory of the colonists. Many of the colonists who fought in the war would later serve again years later as important military leaders during the Revolutionary War, none more than George Washington, who led a Virginia militia into battle during the French and Indian War. Even though he and his military were defeated, Washington gained valuable experience in leadership, military strategy, and war tactics, which would greatly help him later on. This is the end of the video of the slides. Please read before you do any of the assignments.